phone off since I got a notification saying, "Hey, bossierwatch is live on Twitter."
Oh, wow. You got your notifications. I didn't get mine. And
Well,
I'm the
that's the only
tech
one I
guy.
got.
Yeah, I'm like the tech guy, and I didn't get my notice. I guess maybe I need to wipe the dust off of the notifications deals. It's been so long since we've fired this software up.
Well, yeah, and it's been so long since I have been on here. I mean, I'm having to figure out how to do this crap again.
Hell yeah, that's you've been playing hooky there for a while, and I guess well we both did over the New Year's Eve holiday.
Well, I got to tell you, so ready to get 2024 behind us. I don't know about you, but 2024 sucked. It was a horrible year. the,
Well, it was
I,
it was hit and miss for me.
the only good thing that came out of 2024 was two things. One of them we're going to talk about in a little bit, but the other one for me, Trump getting elected.
Well, see that was a good thing. Getting elected again after a 4 year hiatus. Hiatus.
Yeah, I don't
Trying
know
to
how
talk
many presidents have done that. That have ran, then ran again, got beat, then ran again. I mean, I'm not saying he got beat
well,
because he didn't get beat. It got stolen.
well,
The election got stolen.
not just that. He was reelected as a convicted felon with a mugshot. That's
Oh,
just outstanding.
that is my most favorite part of it.
Right. See, so there were some good things about 2024, and one good thing about 2024, there are about 30 people that have actually followed us into 2025. See, that's a miracle in itself.
It is, and I got to tell you, I'm glad that people are still hanging in there, following us. It's amazing that we went through. I mean, I don't know. You had the Colonel on, and the
Right.
Colonel did a wonderful job. I saw a piece of it. That was all
Hmm.
I saw. I didn't get to see all of it, but what I did see, he did a wonderful job, and I'm glad he filled in and took up the slack.
Yeah, he did. He did a fine job of it, and he is never one to be short of anything to talk about. He's always got something to talk about. So I could just pretty much put the show on autopilot and let him run with it. So he did a good job.
Well, are we going to go to the countdown or are we going to talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about or what we're going to do here? You got to help me out because I'm rusty, rusty, rusty. Got to shake off the cobwebs.
Well, we'll give the quick bullet points there, and then we'll go ahead and go to the break. So we basically have three main topics to talk about. We're going to mention or talk about the upcoming election and the candidates so far because I've been asked about that multiple times by text message. We've got some Facebook messages about it. So we're going to talk about the candidates that we know of so far. We're, of course, going to talk about the city council lying again and what this whole water rate thing is and the post that we put up with the water rate percentages that has gone insanely viral for around here locally. And then we're just going to mention briefly the
Now,
NAACP meeting.
now wait a minute. You said that they were lying. Were
Mm-hmm.
they lying?
Well, I mean, lying as in if we go back in time 1 year and can stand to listen to Queen Monty drone on for a few minutes, that sort of lying.
So you think that he knew then?
Oh, I bet he did.
Okay, well, I mean,
He was
maybe he
trying to
did
sell
leave.
that he was trying to sell that port deal hard and heavy. So, the easy pitch was, oh, well, that would offset any water rate increases in the future. And remember, he gave us the whole spill about it was such a great deal and why would anybody be against something that the city would literally have no expense in, which is not entirely true, by the way, but that's another point.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about that. I mean, I don't know if we can say that he was lying, but I might can go with he was being disingenuous because I don't know. You can't read his mind. Did he know that there was a problem with the water stuff? I mean, he's told us how many times about his prowess as a CPA and all. I don't know. I mean, we're gonna have to
Well,
debate that a little bit.
See what? Yeah, because I'm not one of those. This whole disingenuous and well, he wasn't saying exactly the truth, and my fellow politician this. I don't fall for that. He's lying. I mean, he should have never said those words. There's no way he could promise that anyway.
Now, I 100% agree with that. But
Okay,
well, let's
so
do the
see, he was
break.
lying. All right.
Let's do the break and let's come on back and we'll talk a little bit about where I've been.
Yeah, where you've been and where you're going and all that sort of thing. All right, folks. Well, we appreciate everybody tuning in. Hello to everybody. Y'all know the drill. If you watched before, we're going to hit the intro button and the countdown and all that. That gives us about 3 minutes. And we would appreciate everybody sharing this out to your Facebook groups, to your Facebook feed. If you're on YouTube, share it with a text message with somebody or whatever. That gets us a few more viewers and gets the word out because we're going to talk about those blasted water rate increases and lots of other stuff. We will be right back, Mr. Lowry.
Knew a lot of the back office on the politicians that they think walk on water, they would be shocked.
There's an old wound from a knife in my back that just is giving me heck lately, and it's just really irritating. So I have to kind of wiggle around a little bit.
And I titled it "A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys."
Just, they feel helpless, they don't feel heard, they have nowhere to turn.
Some Republicans as well believe that government has the answers. And let me tell y'all something. I don't know anything government does well. Nothing.
Aren't there laws that say that you have public meetings so that the public can have accountability of their elected officials?
As a member of the media, I'm very concerned about what I've just heard.
Well, I'm not thinking Star Wars at all. I'm thinking zombie apocalypse.
Oh, folks coming from the border down there?
Yeah, it's going to border. It's actually going to Mexico, the buses.
Doesn't mean they interpret it the same way that I do. For instance, the Second Amendment. I take it very literally. That's been interpreted different ways in the court system all the way up to SCOTUS.
We're still right now combined on both pages and YouTube at 264 people watching. That is amazing, folks.
Through conscious, shocking actions, which in turn would enrich sitting city council members Scott Irwin and David Montgomery Jr.
In theory, it's an every week thing. We got to double check and make sure it's like a miracle any of this actually works. This live broadcast is brought to you by the Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 25 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting. Reach out to Julie Ferris. Smarter Geek, making technology easier. And folks sharing information and watching out. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. And we're back. Once again,
back. All right, back in the saddle. I gotta reacclimate myself. I feel like I'm, that's what I did. I took the break so I could re-burnish our amateur journalist status.
Oh yeah, that's a good thing. You had to. We were getting too semi-professional, almost not amateur status, so we had to kind of reset and recenter to get back to complete amateurs.
Yeah, and have these awkward moments where it doesn't feel like we're on the same page, and so people will say, yeah, boy, these guys, they're kind of funny, they're kind of weird.
Yeah. So I want to give a quick update, and then I want you, if you want to, give an update on where you were and that sort of thing. So the quick update here is, did you know that the Bossier Motel still has no water?
Oh, you're talking about off I-20 there, where all the construction's going on.
Yes. They, as of yesterday, they still had no water.
I mean, you mean Live Casino hadn't went in there and offered them like some big payout yet? Are you kidding me?
I don't know, but I'm going to tease something out. You and I have not even talked about this, but I have it on good authority that a certain city official, I'll just leave it at that, went to a local business right next door to that motel and was interested in buying it. The
Oh,
city was interested in buying it. Now, I have nothing in writing and no recording of that, but I'll just throw that out there.
now wait a minute. I mean, I could see Live Casino wanting to go in there and buy it, but you're telling me the city is shake. Wait a minute. Okay, I can't say that. I can see. I gotta refresh myself.
Right.
I can't say they were shaking them down, but you're telling me that they're squeezing these people, and what this business that supposedly is being considered to be bought. I mean, have they been squeezed any?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
Let's
So
just put it that way.
to all the other business owners in Bossier City, I mean, have you been shook down? Are you
Yeah.
being shook down? Do they want your property? I
Yes.
mean,
As a matter of fact, that reminds me, I need to fire off the public information request. So they're incoming.
boy, howdy. I mean, man, this stuff just doesn't doesn't end. I was only gone for how many shows? 3, maybe 4?
No, we had the one with Colonel Crockett where he subbed in, and then we skipped New Year's Eve. So and we've done a few posts, since then. But so what was your situation, or what was your status, or were you just legitimately taking a break?
No, wasn't no breaks. Wasn't no breaks. So, look, I mean, end of the year, again, 2024 was a tough year. And I guess it was sometime before Christmas. Kara and I, Kara had been having some issues going on and been going to the doctor and, kind of discovered something. And ended up being that she had a cyst on her brain. And it was a deal that it was causing a few issues. And, just, I don't know. She may not even want me to be putting this out here, but make a long story short, we didn't put it out there. We didn't want people to be like all freaking out and worried, over Christmas. That was kind of the wrong thing to do, but we had been dealing with it, progressing through it. We've known it for a little while, and, had a surgery scheduled, and I can say now, thankfully, that the surgery was a complete success, and Kara is doing wonderful. And the surgery was a craniotomy to remove the cyst that was causing her brain to be pushed over to the side, and it was kind of sketchy there for a little while. Anyway, with that said, and I'm trying to fast forward through this, but I can't say enough, and I know Kara would as well. Can't say enough about LSU Hospital in Shreveport. Um,
Yeah.
folks may not realize this, but that place is I mean, it is a diamond.
Right. Well, I'm only familiar with them from a good friend of mine many years ago was burned really badly in a 18-wheeler accident. Long story, but anyway, he was in the burn unit there for a long, long time, and I'm sure everybody pretty much knows that they have a great trauma unit and burn center over there. But apparently, they've got some great surgeons to do, craniotomies and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I will tell you, and I'm going to say his name, Dr. Gudakonda.
Hmm.
Um, eh, I'm going to go out on a limb and say we might have one of the best neurosurgeons around in that doctor there at LSU,
Wow.
and just top notch. Now in this whole experience, I mean, when I was a paramedic, I knew LSU. LSU was the play. If you had trauma, you wanted to go to LSU, level 1 trauma center. I mean, a lot of folks don't understand what that means, and what that means is that you have a surgical team right there on standby 24 hours a day.
Mhm.
The thing is so like and it's not knocking the other hospitals, but the bottom line is it all comes down to about time, time to cut, time to take action. In a lot of hospitals, you don't have a surgical team standing by right there. You have to make a phone call. They have a certain amount of time to respond.
Right.
And then once they respond, then they have a certain amount of time to get to the hospital. Then once they get to the hospital, then they got to prep for the surgery. LSU is different in all those regards. So a lot of folks have a predetermined idea of what LSU is, and I would tell you that you would be mistaken to make a decision based on that predetermined idea, because play this out in your head. You arrive at LSU, they don't have to make a phone call for the physician that you need. That physician is already there. It's not waiting around for that one to respond to the call and or to show up. They're already there. So you're cutting down time of the call and time for them to show up. The second thing, if the determination is made that you need surgery, guess what? Everybody's there.
Yeah, scrub in and go.
Scrub in and go. That clock's not burnt an hour to 2 to 3 hours off the clock. Now that wasn't the case here with Kara and our situation. Just let me jump to something else. LSU, it is the premier place to have surgeries, especially if you're in a bad need. It's the premier place. But there were some observations that I made. And, I was a paramedic for 20 years. And, I went into LSU in the ER. I did my rotations in every floor in that building, including surgery, the burn unit, OB, all of it. They're short on nurses. A lot of the nurses that are there are contract nurses. I didn't know this, but through this experience, we learned that. And what I can tell you is that I don't know what we have to do. It's something that I'm going to try to research and look into a little bit, but they had a lot of beds that they couldn't put people in simply because of the reason that they didn't have nurses to care for them.
Wow.
And, I talked to a friend of mine down in the ER, and same thing. They're having to limit the number of patients, that they could take in the ER because of a lack of nurses. So I don't know how we address that situation, and I don't know. I mean, the quality, don't get me wrong, is obviously second to none at LSU, but it needs to be able to do more than what it's doing.
That's interesting because, a lot of my real long-time friends are nurses or they work in the healthcare and all that. And it just seems to me that these days there's a lot of nurses, but then again, healthcare in general is expanding and ever growing. So I don't know. That's an interesting problem that I wasn't even aware of, that they're short on nursing staff.
I wasn't as well either, and Weston's making a few comments, and yeah, Wes, I can remember as a paramedic certain cases that we took in the emergency room. There's no other place that I've ever taken anybody that I remember literally in the ER. In the ER, they literally cracked their chest open. Cracked their chest open. I mean, no one is that aggressive anywhere else, not around here anyway. I mean,
Right.
you have to go to a Houston or you have to go to a Dallas or some big place where they're going to be cracking chests in ERs, but at LSU, they're going to do it.
Mhm.
And anyway, hey, I thought about going to nursing school, David Crockett. In fact, I was on the fast track from being a paramedic to being nursing school, but 20 years of being beat down on the street in Bossier City. Um, I hate to say this, it's going to sound not crass, that's not the word, cold. It'll be cold,
Mhm.
but you lose your empathy after a long period of time. There's only so many beatings that a human can take, and I had my limit and couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, can't say that I blame you there. All right. Well, that explains where you were, and I'm sure that I'm joined by everybody watching that we're glad to hear that your better half is doing a-okay. And there's probably a joke in there somewhere about you maybe not being the root cause of all of her headaches.
Well, if you want to know the truth, she's already forewarned me. She said, look, she said, you're going to have to tighten up. I was like, what do you mean tighten up? I've been waiting on you hand and foot. And she says, no, that's not what I mean. It's like, what do you mean? She's like, I've been dealing with you with half a brain. She's like, I'm just going to have all my faculties dealing with you now. So you're going to have to tighten up or you can ship out.
That's great.
Like, what the heck?
That's how we know Kara's back to 100%.
That's right.
All right. Well, let's dive into the actual show stuff. And I gotta say, again, all pun intended, the city is providing us again with plenty of headaches. I mean, from the whole city council and water ordeal and all the other stuff they done and the term limits and everything else to who is going to run against them. And of course, the other headache is who is going to show up to vote in the March elections. We got to get the word out there, everybody.
Yeah, we've said in countless shows that we only touch so many people, and the information about what takes place in government. I mean, look, I was a government worker. I mean, there's a lot of things that are not glamorous. It just happens the way that it happens, and the public never ever has a clue about what happened. What goes on and what takes place. I mean, and it's one of the reasons that we started this show, not to place the employees of government, to make them out to be bad people. That wasn't the purpose of it. But invariably, I hate to say it this way, but you have bad people in government.
Well, you do. I mean, look, the fact of the matter is, you and I, neither one of us have a set of pom poms. We're not cheerleaders. That's not what this show has been about from day one. You can go back 200 and really 250 some odd shows if we count, everything together. But you could go back to show number one, and we literally said that the purpose of this show was to show the inside baseball, the good old boys network, what is going on in the city. We're not here to show off the pretty flower gardens. There's plenty of organizations that can do that. You can go watch the mainstream news around here locally if you want to see all that. We're here to hopefully show the folks what's really going on in Bossier as a whole, not just the city, the parish too, and sometimes of course the state, and kind of give you the inside baseball. Of course, we inject our opinions, and we're certainly biased. We don't hide that at all. But that's what we intend to do, and we've obviously been pretty successful at it around here locally. We've got well north of 7,000 followers. That post that we put up about the water increase, I mean, like I said, that's 9,000 views just on that little post. Wasn't even a video. So we're having an impact. And
But it's still it's not enough
right.
to reach the biggest majority of the population. To not that that's the goal, to change elections or to control elections or to steer elections or to sway things, but from our perspective, it's about information. It's about informing, and it takes more people to inform the public about the inconsistencies in government. About and we're going to show you tonight. I mean, here it is. You've got your water rate increases, but yet you had your councilman just not long ago saying, "Do this so that we will avoid that."
Right.
And
Literally saying that.
So anyway, people have to communicate the information to share. This only works if you regurgitate what you hear, what you learn, or what your take on it is to somebody else. You got to
Right.
communicate.
Yeah, and look, we've said over and over and over and ad nauseum, we fully encourage anybody watching to do what we're doing or something similar. Just get the information out there. Don't trust what we say. Go to the actual meetings. You know, we reference a lot of the meetings during the show and play a lot of that, but go to the actual meetings yourself and watch those meetings and get the full context. Heck, even better, go sit in the seat and attend the meetings. That's hard to do sometimes for working folks, but you know, when you can, go to the meetings and see for yourself. Don't just take our word and opinion and our bias for granted. Go see for yourself and start your own podcast, start your own blog. I don't know. Do whatever you can. Go talk to your neighbor, talk to your friend, talk to your family. All that good stuff that we preach quite frequently.
Well, I mean, look, let's just, we say that it's not that easy to start your own podcast. I mean, you are ahead of the curve on the tech stuff. I mean, this show does not work unless you are at the helm of running all of this tech. So let's face it, everybody can't do what we're doing. I'm just going to say it like it is. They can't do what we're doing. I
Well,
mean,
that's
they could commit their lives to it, yeah, and
well,
they could
but
do it.
But look, let me just simplify it down. Look, all this stuff that we do on the tech side and the screenshots, yes, it takes a lot of time, but literally everybody has one of these in their pocket. Period. You can start, I mean, and you just get on there and talk about whatever you want to talk about. Look, every one of the city council candidates that we're going to talk about that's running so far should have their own podcast and should be posting videos right now.
And
That's how you defeat the incumbents really easily.
exactly. Yes. Crowdsourcing it.
Yes.
That is it. And
Yes.
that brings me to something else. And I egregiously forgot to mention this a while ago. So, you know, look, you offered countless times while I was away and you knew what was going on. Everybody else didn't know. And, you know, to bring us food and to do things. And I got to tell you, some of the people on our show, that learned about what was going on, they stepped up and they were doing the old school thing of offering to bring food to the house and do things. And I totally appreciate that. I mean, it just words Kara and I can't, you know, we just can't articulate enough how much we appreciate that. And the neighbors in my subdivision, I mean, look, they put up a food train and like they had it on a schedule, you know, every freaking night that we were home. I mean, they had it was the most amazing thing. And those things matter. And it doesn't matter that you and I do this, you know what they say, the stupid show. It doesn't matter that you and I do the stupid show or that we're the quote unquote hosts. And this goes into about taking action. I mean, look, you're not doing this to help us. We don't care. We don't want no notoriety. We don't want to be famous. We don't care about any of that crap. All we want is better government. And if you can't create a podcast, just help us get this message out. That's
Yeah.
all you got to do.
Go talk to your neighbor. Share the show. Tell a neighbor about the show. Even tell a neighbor about what the city council's doing and encourage your neighbors to go to the city council meeting or the police jury or the school board meetings. Any of that participation helps. We can't say that enough.
Yeah. Just step up and do. And a lot of you have. I mean,
Right.
look, to all of you that have stepped up and gotten involved from the term limits, I mean, that has moved this needle immensely. To those of you that stepped up, you know, Cassie, I mean, I just Alice Boyer, the people that did, I mean, guys, you don't know how much of an impact you've made and how much, I mean, just your effort that you, by stepping up, getting involved and working on behalf of your community to move the needle, you don't know how much, you know, I think it's going to change this election. I truly believe it.
I
I
think it
think,
will help move the needle. Now, how much it moves the needle, I don't know. But I think you're right that it is going to help move the needle some. I want to share this one thing and then we'll get back to the topics. Let me see how
and,
I can put this.
and look, I want to say this too. You got some people like Ruth Pope Johnson. I don't know where they get their energy from, but they are more motivated now than they've ever. It's just like they keep getting more and more. You and I've been at this. How long have we been doing this? 2 years, three?
Oh no, 4 years now.
Is it 4 years?
Yeah,
I mean,
4
4
years.
years. I mean, and I see people. I would say probably midstream is when you and I really kind of picked up, our
Right.
motivation. Well, I'm seeing these people about where we were midstream.
Yeah.
Like Ruth and them. They're getting
Oh yeah.
fired up.
Yeah, and so don't take what we're saying right now as directed at everybody personally, as far as you folks that do attend the meetings, do share posts, or watching the show right now. We know that right now we've got 60, 70 something people watching, and y'all are pretty much right now the core group. We really appreciate that. So what we're saying is also directed to people that watch, the thousands that watch the show after the fact over the next few days. I want to read you this message. I'm going to paraphrase it and I won't share who it's from, but he said, "Why does B Town look like it's trading places with Caddo? All those price and tax hikes are nuts. What the blank is Bossier doing? Between term limits, corporate welfare, and pocket padding, looking very regressive. At least in Caddo, you're getting a crap sandwich."
A good friend of mine in Bossier has said that, Bossier is all they've been doing is they've just been trading time. Bossier City's been trading time until the money runs out. Well, guess what? The money's running out, and it's going to hell in a handbag. I
It
mean,
is.
and I think that the people in the elections to come, the people that hang around, the Jeff Darbys, the Jeff Frees, I think those people, all they're doing is to just hang in here to try to save face. That's why they're staying around. They're staying around to try to CYA, you know, because I mean, the people that made this happen, I mean, they're checking out.
Right.
They're not gonna have to worry about it. They're not left holding the bag. But these other people have still got to live here. They got to still stay here. So they got to do what they can to try to save their name.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All right, so speaking of that, let's move into what I'm calling our March candidates update for the March election. And let's discuss that for a few minutes. I got a couple of screenshots to show. All right, so get out your pens and papers, folks. We're going to post a graphic with a lot of this information as well that you can share out, because I've had a couple of people reach out and say, hey, how do we get in touch, or how do we figure out who all the candidates are? And I'm like, well, they haven't all qualified. Official qualifying is not until January the 29th through the 31st. Official qualifying is not until January the 29th through the 31st. That means only certain candidates have declared that they're going to run. Some of them put up signs. Some of them had a couple of fundraisers and dinners and that sort of thing. The election is March the 29th. The city council election and the mayoral election for Bossier City is March the 29th. All right. Now, if you want to go meet a couple of the candidates, let me get this sized up. Let me switch screens here. The infamous Sobo lunch group, South Bossier Lunch Group, is having their luncheon tomorrow from 11:30 to 1 p.m. at the Bel Air South Complex. The lunch is $10. You got to bring cash. I think they take Venmo, but don't quote me on that. But apparently tomorrow they've had a lot of folks come and speak, politicians and other folks, but they're going to have Brian Hammonds, who of course is from District 1, and Donzel Hughes and Cliff Smith from District 3, I think, are going to be guest speakers at that tomorrow. So if you're interested in some of the candidates, even if you're not in those districts, I would encourage you to go down to that luncheon.
You said the infamous Sobo luncheon. You made me think, was this like they were meeting with El Guapo down there or what?
Well, no, this is the infamous luncheon that I went to where Tommy Chandler said he was absolutely standing behind Shane Cheatham. Shane Cheatham was his guy. I mean, they did bro hugs, they did all that. I videoed it, and what did Tommy do? Turned his back on Shane.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that delineation as to whether he turned his back on him or not, I think that's up to Shane to say whether he did or he didn't. I mean, but the bottom line, I mean, and
From an
that right there, that right there, that summarizes Tommy Chandler's first 4 years.
Yeah.
I mean, he can't vote to make Shane Cheatham the CAO. He was at the beck and call of the good old boys, the king, and his followers, Free, Darby, Bubba. And let's not forget, his following his coattails.
Oh, well,
Maggio.
right. But here's the thing. So, all
Tommy
right,
couldn't get it done.
let me rephrase that. From an outsider's point of view, I mean, I'm a resident of the city of Bossier, so not really an outsider, but from a political pundit, amateur journalist, podcaster, from that point of view, Tommy absolutely turned his back on Shane. And we've discussed this ad nauseum, so folks, I'm not really going to beat this dead horse too much.
Is it turning his back on him when he can't get the votes?
Oh, you're going to force me to say it. Yes, it is, because Tommy has more to do than just say 3 words during a damn city council meeting. He's got this thing called the bully pulpit, and he's got this thing called the press and press conferences. And he could have done all that and weaponized what they were doing to Shane in the news meeting. Yeah, it did get some coverage. Of course, we talked about it ad nauseum, but Tommy didn't lift a finger other than at that South Bossier luncheon.
Yeah, but you are saying that from the position of being an experienced, not a politician. Well, yeah, you was a politician because you was on the PEC. 'Cause technically, you were elected to a position. So, yeah, as a politician, you've been around, politics or whatever. But Tommy's been around, but he wasn't, a politician. He's not that guy to do that. He had to defer.
But he literally had Shane sitting there, and Shane is a politician, and Shane is that guy. And Tommy, for whatever reason, that's up to him and Shane or whatever, refused to do it. And since then, he has let the city council run all over the top of him. Period.
Okay.
Full stop.
I would agree. Could he have been a bull or a bear? I mean, he rather than a bunny rabbit,
meek, timid mouse.
Yes, he could have. He very well could have. I mean, but how many politicians do you know do that?
Well, I can list a couple on the city council that do it all the time.
I mean,
off the top of my head. And look, again, I'll say this.
Some of them have had to grow into that, and they have. I mean, look, I remember there's a few council meetings where Tommy took the bull by the horns and he threw some shots. Remember that with Darby? Remember the dialogue with Darby?
Yeah, but that was this year. This is years later.
I know, but he's growing into it. You was expecting him to be a bull or a bear right out of the gate. I mean,
hey, he ran on term limits, which he has supported, but he also ran on auditing Manchac.
You know why he did.
I know, but and look, don't get me wrong. I say this every time, so I want to couch this with Tommy is a super nice guy and just super nice to me every time I see Tommy around town or anything like that. So I think Tommy truly is a good guy. I'm just saying that from an outside pundit, amateur journalist, podcaster, get on my soapbox every Tuesday with you kind of guy, he abandoned his friend. And I've said this before, that breaks rule number 1 with me. So anyway, all right, enough about Tommy.
I don't know whether he abandoned his friend or not. That's between them to know for sure. Could he have fought or used the media and could we, if you and I had been counseling him, would we have counseled him different? Yeah, I have no doubt we would have counseled him different than the way he handled it. But Tommy Chandler, and I'm going to leave it at this, Tommy Chandler deserves an opportunity to be the mayor with a council who's not trying to gut him at every angle and to undermine him and to run the city, without him being able to run the city. I mean,
I agree. And look, well, we'll see if anybody runs against Tommy. It's not that.
oh,
Well,
Jeff Free's out there beating the drums. He's already supposedly secured North Bossier to run against Tommy. I
wait.
mean, Jeff Free is out there campaigning, saying he's going to run against Tommy and that he's got North Bossier. And I can tell you who he's saying who's got North Bossier. I mean, he's got Vicky Whitman and all of them going to.
Oh, where have we heard
Run
those
out
names
there and
before?
campaigning. Yeah, they're going to be out there beating the drum for him. So this is going to be a Nobo versus Sobo thing. But Jeff Free's going to come up empty-handed because Jeff, the term limits people, you were nowhere to be found. I mean, you're one of the jackwagons that have set up there, and you basically just rubber stamped. And I don't give a shit. I don't owe you nothing, Jeff Free. I mean, look, you've had the opportunity to do right and do good for how many years? 3 terms, and now you think you should be mayor after you're having to raise the water rates on the citizens of Bossier here at the end? No, you've not stood up to the king. You've not done it. I mean, what? And you think you want to be mayor because Tommy is not the ultimate politician? Oh, okay. I'm going to stop.
That's not why he wants to be mayor, but that's a whole other conversation. We'll see if he actually does
it's not why he
qualify.
wants to be mayor. It's
Right.
not why he wants to be mayor at all. They want to continue to keep control. I mean, that's it. And they've got a plan. They've got their people, and Judas Jeter is a part of their plan. Y'all need to know that. You need to share it out there. And I don't care. You can tag Judas Jeter and you can tell him.
Yeah,
He's a
welcome
part of
on
their
the show.
plan. He worked to undermine us on the term limit stuff. That's the freaking guy. Said he was with us and stabbing us in the back the whole time. Anyway, rock on.
All right, so I'm updating my notes real quick because Ruth Pope Johnston says, hey, Jeff Darby signs went up in District 2 today. Okay. Signs went up. I'm updating my notes real quick. Hold on. All right. So let's go down the list of.
Look, I'm gonna go on and call it now. If Jeff Darby signs, I'm gonna go and call it. Y'all can all right now point to me and say, "Hey, Duke said he was going to do this." He's going to deny that he was wanting to bring illegal immigrants or signed on with Joe Biden about bringing more illegal immigrants into the country. How much y'all want to bet?
Well,
Darby's going to say that's not true. I didn't support that.
It's funny. He didn't say anything about that in the public city council meetings. He didn't dispute that with the news media. He didn't write an opinion article disputing any of that in the traditional news media.
That's right. He didn't. They wouldn't even let Alice Boyer ask the question at a council meeting. But now that he's running for election, he's going to jump up. You mark my words. He's going to jump up and he's going to say, "I don't support that. I never supported that. I don't know how my name got on there." He's going to plead ignorance and he's going to lie.
That would be like Jeff Free's running for mayor and he's going to claim that he wasn't involved in the Shane Cheatham debacle somehow. I mean, it would be the equivalent of somebody saying something really, really stupid like that.
Oh, yeah. Not only that. I mean, how many other things is Jeff Free going to say? "Oh, I didn't have any idea. I wasn't a part of it." I mean, if y'all give me a chance, I will show you. He
supports term limits.
Yeah, I support term limits. I didn't ever sign it, none, and I worked all against you. And I helped get a charter commission that didn't do a damn thing about correcting problems. In fact, we just wanted to make Manshak in charge of everything in Bossier City. In fact, if Manshak could run for every council seat and the mayor's office, we're down with it.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, but my wife's got to keep the job at the Cypress District. I mean, we got to keep making some government money.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we could go on and 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 on about all this. Okay, so we got a question from Miss Jerry. She says, what are the boundaries for the districts? Where can we find the district map? I think it's posted on the Bossier City website. You can Google Bossier City Council districts or district map, and I think it'll pull it up. I'll try to find it, Miss Jerry, and post it.
Okay, so here's how this works, Miss Jerry, and for those of you that don't know, if you want to win these elections and you want to support a particular candidate, you need to identify people that you know or people that you don't even know in each one of these districts that are registered to vote. You know, call upon them to support an individual candidate, and you need to give them reasons why. And you need to follow up with them, and you need to make sure on election day they go and vote. I mean, I have my favorites. We're going to talk about each one of the candidates. And Rex, as you always say, we share our opinion on here, and I'm going to give my opinion. I'm not going to hold back going down this list here. But you know, the thing that each one of you can do, this is going to be won by ensuring that the people that you know go and vote. And
Right.
like in the at-large, now that one's a little tricky because you're going to have multiple candidates in that race, and somebody may be favorable to one person or the other, but you know, you could, by voting for one person, you could screw up somebody else. And this is going to be a race that's going to kind of, the party stuff with the Republican and Democrat, I got to tell y'all, a lot of you, and look, I'm the chairman of the Bossier Parish Republican Party, and I'm not telling you to go vote any other way, but what I am saying is I think you're going to need to look at this through the lens of Bossier City government. You're going to look
Yeah.
at what have the incumbents done, what has been their position, what have they done that's been in the interest of the citizens of Bossier, and what has not.
Right.
And you're really going to have to think on this one.
Vote the person, not the party in this case, because the ones that are in there that are supposedly members of certain parties have not represented the parties very well. How about that? I mean, I'll say it because I'm not a member of the PEC and don't care. I would support Deborah Ross if I could pull the lever for her, and she's a Democrat.
Yeah. So
if I were in Miss Deborah's district, it would be the first time in my life I had ever pulled the lever for a Democrat, and I would do it in a heartbeat.
Well, Deborah Ross is working her butt off, and you know, here's the thing: she's going to have. I've not had a long conversation with Deborah. She got on the bus, you know, that Ruth Pope and Kara and everybody organized to go down to Baton Rouge to the bond commission meeting.
Right.
You know, Miss Ross, I can show you who's real. She got on the bus. She went to Baton Rouge with us to support, right, you know, the bond commission. I mean, she worked. She is the real deal. And yes. I mean, look, Darby has had control of that district down there. He has rubber stamped everything that's came along from David Montgomery. He is part of the reason why the city is in the shape that it's in. The only reason he's still hanging on is he's trying to defend his legacy and he's wanting to control. He's not going to be easy to beat. Incumbency is strong. David Montgomery has a big old pile of money saved up in his account, and he's going to dump it on these guys to support them.
Yes.
And he's going to dump it on Deborah Ross. So if you know anybody in that district maybe we need to post, maybe Jerry Castellani's right that we need to post images of the districts and go over the districts to show people. And if anybody's watching the show and if you know people in that specific district, you know, you need to call your friends and inform them, because if you're watching the show, you're more informed about what goes on in Bossier City politics than the majority of people. You may have friends who are voters, and let's just say they are a staunch conservative Republican, diehard, hates Democrats, you know, won't vote any other way. But in this case, in this district right here, you've got Deborah Ross, registered Democrat. She's on the right side of term limits, running against independent Jeff Darby, who is going to suggest to you that he is a conservative, or limited government type, to which he's not. He's not, and he's really not a Democrat. You know what he is? He is a big government, an insider is what he is.
Yes,
And
and he did sign on to that form letter about the immigrants and Biden and all of that. He absolutely did.
bring more immigrants, bring them
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Bring them all now, but remember, mark my words, he's going to go back on that. He's going to get out there and say, "Oh, I misunderstood, or I didn't do that, or some bull crap." He's going to walk that back because there's no way neither Republicans, Democrats, or even independents support all that crap. They don't support it.
I would agree with you. Now, I want to put this comment back up from Ann Price. And folks, if y'all don't know Miss Ann, uh, if I'm right wing Republican, she is right wing absolutely Republican, period. And she is agreeing about Miss Deborah and that Miss Deborah is impressive. Now, Miss Ann doesn't live in Miss Deborah's district, but that is a pretty darn good endorsement right there.
You better believe it. I mean, look, there's no way that Miss Ross and I are going to agree on every policy issue that would probably be national policy issues. But when it comes to Bossier City politics and local government, I don't know that she and I are going to not be on the same page. I just can't see where we're not.
Right.
So this race is fixing to, this one and all of these races are fixing to be right on top of all of us. And we all need to throw in here and work our butts off. We got to get this
I would
done.
agree. All right, so that is Miss Deborah Ross's picture. I want to also put up again. She's in District 2, running against now declared unofficially Jeff Darby, who is the incumbent, like we discussed. I want to put up Cliff's picture. So hold on just a second. Bear with me. Let me get that out of the way, just so everybody has a little face
Ruth Pope
recognition.
doesn't even know anybody in his district. I mean, Ruth Pope said, for the Charter Commission, he didn't even appoint somebody from his district for the Charter
Right.
Commission.
Right.
He didn't. Well, he probably doesn't know anybody. People are just voting in those districts if they're not getting strong armed. People in that district are just voting for the old Darby name. I mean, the Darbys have served, in a lot of capacities over the years, but it's time we moved on from that legacy of the Darbys in Bossier City. I mean, in Bossier politics. I mean, they have controlled a percentage of the vote in Bossier for a long time. That needs to change. I mean, and I think Deborah Ross I think she's the right person to start that change.
Yes, and she does have a Facebook profile up with some of her information. Now, I've got Cliff Smith, who has been a long time, both he and his wife, friends of the show, watch the show and all that, very heavily involved in the term limits. As a matter of fact, correct me if I'm wrong, Duke, the T-shirts that had the logo with the term limits, they did the original T-shirts and printed some of those up.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. Cliff and his wife, they most certainly stepped up, walked a lot of streets. I mean, they had skin in the game, and I would say that I'm gonna go out there and say this, that the good old boys have recruited their candidates and
It's the
to
same
run
old,
against
same old.
Cliff. Yeah, it's the same old people, but they got a different little twist. I mean, look, I was having a conversation with somebody, a Politico, the other day, and we were talking about it was before Christmas, and we're like, look, you cannot underestimate the good old boys. They have been in there for over 30 years for a reason. They've been in there for a reason. It's not from being dumb. They know, they've been politically savvy. They are knowledgeable, and Bubba Don's district. I mean, I believe when Bubba says that he's not running again, I believe that. I don't think that he is. But I don't for a minute think that the good old boys and David Montgomery, Jeff Free, and Vince Maggio, now he's a part of it, that they don't have a a plan and a good plan. So the known, I'm going to say it this way, the known opponent of Cliff Smith is Donzel Hughes.
Correct.
Now, don't let me forget, there's another name of a third person to be in that race against Cliff.
Really?
Oh yeah, so we're getting into that math thing with politics,
Right.
and strategy. But Donzel Hughes is an interesting choice there. And the reason Donzel Hughes is an interesting choice because NAACP guy, I strong Democrat. The thing there that's going to be done, they're going to try to appeal to the Democrat voters and the pro NAACP voters to take away that niche from Cliff Smith. And you say, well, why would those people consider Cliff Smith in the first place? Well, the reason that they would consider Cliff Smith in the first place is because Cliff walked that district, term limits. A lot of Democrats supported term limits, and that would be an appeal that Cliff Smith would have to those voters. So they have to prevent Cliff Smith from getting any crossover voters. So then,
little strategy there.
That's right. So then that means they've got to put another Republican. If you take away the Democrat voters with an NAACP guy and Donzel Hughes and Democrat voters, let's say he can pull those votes away, and Cliff Smith can't appeal to those because he was a pro term limits guy. Then they can put a Republican up against Cliff, and then it's a heads up Republican Cliff Smith against the other candidate, the unknown candidate. In which I know the name, I'm not going to say it because he hasn't put it out there and said it, but that's their plan. I still think in the end, Cliff Smith prevails. He's the strongest candidate. But again, you don't know how much money the king is going to throw at the third candidate, to try to defeat Cliff.
Right. And in all fairness, Donzel Hughes, I could only find one social media picture that he was even tagged in, and that's the reason I don't have a picture for him. As far as Jeff Darby goes, you can go look on the city council's website. I don't give a damn about Jeff Darby. Okay. Let's see. Let's move to, of course, District 1. Let me just say that is, of course, Brian Hammond. So far, nobody's indicated that they're going to run against Brian. All right. So let me.
Somebody please run against Brian. He needs more money.
Yeah, he does. He needs a little competition just to keep his claws sharp there. All right. So let me put this picture up. Let me put up Joel's name and edit this real quick so we don't mistake him for Cliff Smith. Let's see. GROUARD. Make sure I spell that right.
Well,
and he would be in District 4.
Well, Miss Jerry, the bottom line, I say we would love to put a debate together with the council candidates and all of that, but because we have been so critical in Bossier, I don't know that your Jeff Freeze or your those guys wouldn't debate.
No,
they wouldn't debate the last time. I mean, we tried to set up debates the last time in Bossier City, but your good old boys wouldn't have nothing to do with it.
Well, now remember, we did have the debate with Hammonds. Was it District 1?
Oh, that's right.
We did do that city council debate. But none of the good old boys were in it.
But that was a special election because Shane Cheatham went to take the CAO job.
Right. So there is that. I mean, we did do a city council debate. It actually went very well, but it was a special election. So Cassie Rogers said, whoop, whoop, Joel Gerard. I hope I'm saying that correctly, Joel, for Bossier City Council. This is my district. So he's running against Jeff Free, and Jeff Free apparently thinks he's going to be mayor. We'll see about that. So anybody that's running against Jeff Free has got to be better than Jeff Free.
Yeah, and Joel Gerard, he called us. We had a conversation with him, and he is very interested, and he wanted to get involved in politics in some time back and was a little delayed in stepping into politics. He's been paying attention to Bossier politics and, in recent years, and it's, as I recall in our conversation, had become troublesome to him about what he was seeing going on. And he finally came around. He figured that, he needed to get involved. He is ready to roll his sleeves up and get into it. Does he have all the answers? He readily admits that he doesn't. And you and I challenged him. We challenged him on a lot of issues. The worst thing, a lot of good with Joel. The
Right.
worst thing that I can say about Joel when I challenged him was asking him, about economic development, in which there's no politician in local government, state government, or whatever. It's not going to say, "Oh, I'm pro economic development," but I'm an oddball. I want less government interference in business, in picking the winners and losers. That's just what's in my DNA. I was a little sideways with Joe on that, but overall, I think this is the guy. He's ready to roll his sleeves up, start auditing things, find out what has been going on with the money, where it's at, and where we need to be going into the future. I think he's going to be a bright spot.
All right, excellent. And Cassie Rogers says he really is more than better than Jeff Free. He is a fantastic human. He is going to be amazing. I agree, Cassie. I'm just being a little facetious there. But based on the phone conversation that Duke and I had with him, I think he's going to be a strong candidate. And again, he's absolutely better than Jeff Free. All right.
I can tell you, I would love to go door knocking with Jeff Free. I would love to go door knocking with Jeff Free. I walked a lot of, as some of the other term limits people, we knocked so many doors, and we knocked a lot of doors in Jeff Free's district. And I remember a lot of people saying, "This Jeff Free guy, is he real?" They were like, "Is he a real person?" Because we've tried to call him and he won't call us back.
Yeah, I've never heard from him. Now, full disclosure, I've not tried to call him, but I've never heard from him. He's never called me and said, "Look, you asshole, quit talking about me every week," or even tried to call me and say, "Hey, why are you so concerned about this? This is why, we voted to do something." He's never once done that. As a matter of fact, none of the good old boys have. I would say, well, let me rephrase that, and I won't share out any names. Almost none of the good old boys have done that. There is one city councilman that is a member of the good old boys that has reached out from time to time. I'll just leave it at that. All right. So let me put up on the next screen. This is the at-large city councilman. These are the city councilmen that everybody gets to vote for that's a resident of the city of Bossier. Right? Or am I saying something wrong?
No, you didn't say nothing wrong. I'm still hung up on your last. That's the amateur thing.
You know who it is.
I do know who it is, and I'm still thinking, and I do know exactly who it is. I was just trying to think of what the appropriate thing to say. See, I still got a little dust and cobwebs on me because I don't know what to say.
Look, he's texted you more than me, so I'll say it in a heartbeat. I don't care. I was just trying to be a little considerate of sources.
Even though we have been critical of him, and we call him a good old boy or whatever. I mean, but look, when he started out, he had the best interest of Bossier City in mind. I think everybody that starts out in politics, they have these grand ideas of doing what's in the best interest of Bossier. But I think somewhere along the way you run afoul. I think that's just the nature of politics. And I think that's why term limits are so important, because invariably everybody that gets in politics, you go into it with the purest of intentions, but before you're done, you're corrupted. And and you transition to that corruption thing. So, but if there's a drop dead date that once you've been in so long, you have to go, once you've been corrupted. And some people would say, well, oh, that's experience once you learn the game. Well, yeah, we don't want people to learn the game. We want
Yeah,
people to go in there with the good intentions, not
look,
once you've learned how to game the system.
the opposite of good experience is bad experience. I'm just saying. Jeffrey Sadow points out, Freeze never run an election, always run opposed. Well, good point, Jeff.
Yeah, boy, something I could say there too. See, I'm going to bite my tongue off right here the first show back.
Hey,
But
there's no rule in 2025 that we have to bite our tongues off.
but y'all think you've gotten rid of Monty? You haven't got, even just because you get him off the council, you haven't gotten rid of Monty. You've got an unelected, unaccountable bureaucracy in the port commission down there, the port
He's
authority
like
down there.
he's like a blood-sucking tick. Just because you pop him off of, pop the tick off of there, that doesn't mean he hasn't put little parasites in your body. He is literally
Okay.
like a tick. He is the tick of politicians and good
Yeah,
old boys.
but Rex, here's the thing. Set your clock to it. You live in Bossier City. Ann Price, you live in Bossier City. All of y'all that live in Bossier City. Set your clock to it. You're going to get that mail piece from the king on behalf of somebody that's going to have the sheriff. It's going to have Bobby Edmonston, your buddy. It's going to have all these other elected officials on there. I mean, I've got them all saved in my office over the years. Every election, that you get that same one of Jim Whitman, with all of them on there. Oh, I endorse him because he's the greatest guy since sliced bread. Oh my gosh. I mean, I like.
It's like it's like they have the Photoshop templates just saved and they just rearrange the pictures and add new names.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
the
pretty
words
much
are
it.
almost the same. I bet I could pull every election. I bet I could pull the same mail piece from Monty from every election that he ever ran. I bet I could pull the same mail piece.
All right, here we go. So, at-large districts, which again are the at-large city councilmen. If you're a resident of the city of Bossier, you get to vote for 2 at-large councilmen. And right now, the incumbents are Chris Smith, who, of course, we support, even though we've had a few differences there from time to time. We still wholeheartedly, I think I can speak for both of us, support Chris Smith. The incumbent, the Queen himself, Queen Monty, Mr. Zamboni partner, David Montgomery, who has not officially announced yet. And, well, here's a funny one, Judas Jeter, as the Colonel calls him.
Oh, yeah, Judas Jeter. He has been, as I understand it, recruited by the good old boys, but then I knew he was recruited by the good old boys way before. No, Creighton's not missing. We just haven't got to Creighton yet because there are some variables. Thank y'all for the text and reminding me. I mean, look, Creighton's been on the show before, not once, but twice. We like Creighton. But Judas he was a deep stater, good old boy from the get-go. Let me tell y'all some inside ball on the term limits coalition stuff. Day one, Lee Jeter right there. Lee Jeter was all on board with term limit stuff. Y'all know how many signatures he collected and turned into us?
10. 0.
Big fat 0. But he was all right there with the communications. The only time I remember seeing Rex Lee Jeter show up was when there was a camera from the media. Imagine that.
Imagine that. I'll be darned.
And now all of a sudden, Lee Jeter finds the need that he needs to run for city council at large to try to take out Chris Smith. Imagine that.
Well, and look, it's even worse. Colonel Crockett says Jeter collected signatures for term limits and never turned them in. So he got the benefit of going out and promoting that he was for term limits, for the, as they've been called, the people's term limits. So he gets the benefit of acting like he was for them and then literally never turning in the signatures. That's just great. Way to go, Lee.
Yeah, and then he, to make matters worse, and this is where he got coined the Judas Jeter. He was on that charter commission, and he knew damn good and well the intent was to undermine the people's petition. He knew it all along from the beginning. And what did he do? He enabled Vicky Whitman, Juliana Parks. He enabled all of them, Sandra Morehart, to put this abomination that's going to come before the people on the same ballot as the election. And I guess we're going to have to get to that here at some point, and we're going to have to explain to people which way they should go on that. But he enabled that all to happen. And why did he do that? Probably because he got a commitment of support from the good old boys if he goes along. And so basically, Lee Jeter used the system to benefit himself. That's what he did. Now, if all of y'all out there, if y'all want that type person to be elected and to represent you, then, more power to you. Go vote for Lee Jeter for more of the same, but if you want transparency and you want, and folks are right that are texting saying, look, we're leaving somebody off. And here's the thing. We're going to transition here. Creighton Cochran.
All right, let me put his name up there.
Yeah.
Do you want me to add it to the at large, or we'll just put his name up there?
Add it up there to the at large in there because he's already announced.
Okay.
He's in it.
Okay.
So Creighton, is running at large. So what you've got going on here is you've got Chris and you've got Creighton, two strong candidates. Keep in mind, Chris knocked off an incumbent when he won the previous time. Again, just like in the Cliff Smith race, we're talking about math here. Judas Jeter can go out there and say, "Oh, I supported term limits. I was on the charter commission and I gave you term limits on the charter commission. And I was a part of the people's petition, the term limit." But you're talking to one of the people of the people's petition, and I'm telling you, Judas Jeter he was missing in action, didn't show up. He can say what he wants to say, and if he wants to come on this show and defend his position, I challenge you, Lee Jeter, come on this show and let's talk about what you did and what you didn't do. The only thing you did was show up for when the media was there, for any time a camera was there. That's all you did. Yeah. You just did nothing more than enable yourself. That's all you did, was try to promote yourself.
Yeah, and literally collected signatures and didn't turn them in.
So the math here is that you've got the two leading guys, Chris and Creighton. And conceivably, those are your two best candidates to be your at-large councilman. You got one from North Bossier, you got one from South Bossier. That's equally balanced. They're both young. They're both, I truly believe in their heart, they're interested, in Bossier City becoming a better city, cleaning up the problems, fixing things. I truly believe that's what these guys want to do. Creighton's he doesn't have to do anything. He's on the school board. He's got an elected seat. He doesn't have to give that up. He's making the decision to transition over to Bossier because look, the school board, whether we agree with everything they do or not, you got to admit, as a government entity, they run like a well-oiled machine for the most part. A lot of people, y'all don't take that wrong, but I'm just saying, for the most part, they run like a well-oiled machine. They do.
Right.
For him being there, I bet he's bored. But, if he's truly wanting to make a difference in politics, he needs to jump off into Bossier City because it needs help. So I think that's his why. But if you're a good old boy and you're doing the math here and you're wanting to retain power, maybe David Montgomery throws in there again. But again, that goes back to his ego. I don't think his ego can take him being beat. I don't think he can take that, and rather go out the front door rather than being pushed out the back door. So rather than risk, going against the public, I mean, he's gotten more transparency on his activities in the last 4 years than he has ever gotten in his life. So I think he doesn't want no part of it. He just said, to hell with it. Why should I do this? Why don't I just sit over there and suck on the tit of the port commission and
Right.
ride off into the sunset? I've made enough money. I don't need this shit anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
Why do it?
yeah, once he's off the city council, then the strings are really untied as far as the insurance business goes. So, there's that.
So, but they got to put a shot together. So you throw Lee Jeter in there. Lee Jeter can hopefully maybe pull Democrat. They're playing the old Democrat card. Pull Democrat and or term limits votes, and you might be able to split the difference between Chris and Creighton. Maybe, maybe not. I don't think he can do it. I don't think he can pull enough votes. I think still, if that race was Chris, Cochran, and Judas, I think Chris and Cochran win the day.
I think so. I would not disagree with that. It's going to be tough, though. I mean, look, it's like we say all the time. We, and when I say we, I mean everybody watching that watches our show consistently and pays attention to politics and all that. We all have a skewed perspective. We assume that just because we think this way, that, well, everybody must think this way. But that's not the truth. A lot of people, they're, going to their jobs, picking their kids up from school, eating dinner, going to church, doing their thing, and they're not as in tune to politics. Now, we've been very fortunate that in the last year and a half, especially since the term limits saga, and really going back, starting with the Zamboni incident and moving forward, but really stepped on the accelerator during the term limits saga, the standard everyday press has been catching on and covering some of the shenanigans too. So it's kind of a double whammy. We've been talking about it, and now finally the normal mainstream media around here has been catching on. So I think you're right, Duke. Queen Monty has had plenty of spotlight shown on him, as well as the others.
So I want to step back just a little bit, leave that at large there up there, and now I want to play devil's advocate here. Now, what if, because we didn't talk about District 5, we didn't talk about Vince Maggio and because Vince Maggio hasn't declared that he's running or he's not running. Now, what if Vince Maggio decided, you know what, I'm going to throw my name into the at-large race?
Oh, wouldn't that be interesting?
I mean, wouldn't that kind of shake things up? I mean, what would happen if Vince Maggio threw his name? I'm just wondering who in District 5 would step up to run, for his seat if he chose to do that. Would somebody that maybe was on the charter commission that was appointed, in there, maybe would they step up and run for his seat? Or would maybe Vince runs for mayor? Maybe.
Well, there's been that talk for a while that Vince had his sights set on being mayor.
Or maybe Vince just doesn't run again at all. And maybe that there's already somebody decided upon to run for Vince's seat that Vince doesn't really want to run again. And they're just kind of slow playing it so that maybe nobody will be ready to run for that seat, and that somebody who they already know is going to will at the last minute qualify and jump in there.
Yeah.
And then Vince just doesn't qualify again.
There is some of that strategy that does get involved in politics like this. I mean, literally waiting at the courthouse to go up there at the last minute.
But I would say that I think it's a guarantee that Jeff Free runs against Tommy Chandler And I, I I think I'm going to be with Tommy Chandler.
I'm absolutely, if it's Jeffrey versus Tommy Chandler, yep, no doubt I'm with Tommy. With Tommy, absolutely.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
I think until qualifying, I think that's a wrap up of the way races are shaping up. And I think that you know, for a lot of the examples and reasons that we've described, I think a lot of you folks need to share that with people, share your thoughts. You know, qualifying is January, and I think probably February, mail ballots will be going out.
Right.
Y'all need to be talking to people, especially
Yes.
people that are getting the mail ballots. I mean, why? What you know about this candidate, what you know about that candidate, you need to just share the information and get it out there. We need to inform as many people in Bossier City that votes as possible.
I agree. We will try to put together a little graphic too that you can share, or probably make it printable too, where you could print it out if you want a kind of a little political cheat sheet, so to speak. Miss Ruth says Creighton Cochran is awesome. And I did have his name misspelled. Thank you, Miss Ruth, for correcting me. Creighton Cochran is awesome. He lives in our neighborhood and does so much for the people. I support him 100 or 1,000%. Along with Deborah Ross, part of our neighborhood has been redistricted to include District 2. We have real hope. I am all in for both Deborah Ross and Creighton Cochran.
You know, I mean, look, 1,000%. I can't say that I support any politician 1,000%. I don't, because Chris Smith, I've been cross with him, hadn't spoke to him for, a month or multiple times because I've been pissed off at him. That water line thing, I didn't talk to him for a month after that.
And speaking of water, that's a good segue. We're going to get to that here in just a few minutes.
And Tommy, I mean,
Huh?
there's criticism I can make of Tommy. I mean, every politician, they're not perfect. They're humans just
No.
like all of us. They make mistakes. We're calling them out. If they get butt hurt because we're calling them out, that's on them. That ain't on us. Don't do
Yeah.
stupid stuff. We won't
Right.
call you out.
Yeah.
You
We've
know?
said that a bunch on this show too. Don't do
And
stupid crap. We won't call you out. You're right.
a disagreement's a disagreement.
Right.
Somebody said, "Can I get a 950%?"
999%. Miss Jerry asked a question a few minutes ago. She said, "Isn't the school board one of the most expensive parts of our taxes? As far as the millages go, why, yes, Miss Jerry, it would be." That is correct.
Oh man.
All right.
I know exactly who, if I gotta go away the next time, I know exactly who the guest host is that's gotta replace me.
Uh-oh. That sounds dangerous or ominous or both.
Oh, I think he could do every bit as good of a job as I do, if not better.
Well, the one thing about it is we'll know we've done our job, as amateur as it is, when we can both leave and have some people guest host, and it just keeps right on rolling on.
Oh, that would be cool. Wouldn't that be
Yeah.
cool? That would
Yeah.
be cool.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to the city council and this water, because of course we've alluded to it. They lied about the water. It stems back to the port deal, so that was a good segue a few minutes ago.
Okay. There you go. You're saying they're lying again. I mean, I gotta.
Yeah.
Did they lie or did they just?
It wouldn't be
You
the first time
know.
we've called them liars. Why are you defending them?
Well, I mean, we need to be devil's advocate here. We need to play both sides of it.
Well,
Is
you
it
can
that
be
they're
the good cop
lying
and I'll
about
be
it?
the asshole cop.
Okay. Well, the turd. You can be the turd.
Yeah, pardon the language, folks, but this is an adult show.
You'll be the turd.
Yeah. All right. Let's go.
There's a reason I said the turd, y'all. You'll see it in a minute.
Right. All right. So, and don't let me forget, I skipped over the nanofiltration in the list of stuff on purpose. Because it kind of ties more into this water deal. So maybe y'all folks try to remind me later if I forget to talk just briefly about the nanofiltration if we don't get to it here in this part of the segment. Anyway, So let's go back in time. Let me see if I can switch screens and get the screens to play nicely. Yes, this is back all the way back to 2023, April 4th of 2023. About a
So long ago.
yeah, so long ago. This is one of the infamous meetings where Queen Monty got on his soapbox. And so I want to just give everybody about a minute, about all we can take of Queen Monty, refresher on what he said. Here we go.
Of the taxpayers' money to ensure or mitigate the fact that we will not have water rate increases going forward.
Y'all heard that. Let me play it again, and I'll actually let it run through for about another 30 seconds for full context.
Be stewards of the taxpayers' money to ensure or mitigate the fact that we will not have water rate increases going forward, that we will not have bond ratings declining.
Mr. President, can I call for the question?
Yes, you can call for the question, Bubba Don. Thank
So,
God.
okay, I got a question for everybody watching. You know, there's 100 of y'all out there. Do y'all think, did he know the status of the water fund in Bossier City? Do y'all think that at the moment that he's jumping up, using the body language, extenuating, you know, pointing his finger, slamming his finger, do y'all think that he knew the status of the water fund in Bossier City when he's saying everything he's saying there? Do y'all think that he knew, or do you think that he didn't know?
Well, let me give everybody a little bit of help with the answer. They borrowed the money, or maybe I'm incorrect about that. It may have been a grant that they received from the state from federal funds. That should help you out a little bit on the answer.
Now, wait a minute. Judy Stewart says liar.
Is Duke a liar? Am I a liar? Or you're agreeing with me, Judy, that anything he says is lying coming out of Queen Monty's mouth?
But for those of you that are in the back row, the point I'm making is he has so eloquently put in the past that until you have a governmental accounting degree, you need to sit down and shut up. So, I mean, did he know the status of the water fund or did he not? Because he, to my knowledge, is the only person up there with a governmental accounting degree and says to everyone else, shut the hell up. So when he says right there, so that we don't ever have water rate increases again in the city of Bossier, was he saying that from a position of ignorance? Was he saying it from a position of trying to deceive the public? Or was he saying that from a position of knowledge? He has said it's from a position of knowledge because he's the only person with a governmental accounting degree. I mean, did I frame that correct, Rex?
You did, but I've got to have a little squirrel moment here. So I've just gotten a text message from a very high up person, let's just say, said fire him for defending them, and he's referring to you, Duke. That's it. You're fired.
So sometimes sometimes you have to play the other side to get people to see all sides.
Yeah, you're getting a pay cut, Duke.
Okay, well, yeah. I mean, I don't know where I'll get my meal next.
0 times a negative is still 0.
Golly geez.
Yeah. All right. So I'm sorry, but all right.
Well, I mean, it goes to my point. He's either lying, he's either ignorant, or he's knowingly defrauding or lying to deceiving the public. I mean,
you're getting closer. You're using the word defraud. I like that word too.
Well, I'm just saying it's got to be one. He's either straight up lying, he's ignorant and doesn't have any idea, or it's worse than lying. I guess that's worse than lying. He's defrauding the public on this issue. Yeah. Because obviously what he said right here was totally incompatible with what just happened, raising the water rates.
Yeah, it is. And look, There was somebody that commented on the rate post, which I'm going to show the screenshot here in a minute if you hadn't seen it, that said, well, wait a minute, they had to do this. The state mandated it. The reason the state mandated it is because it was a grant. When you do those grants, or in some cases loans from the state, even though that was the COVID money from the federal government, so really it's all tax dollars, no matter which way you try to spin it. All right. But the state has certain sway and say so, or you have to pay back the loan or pay back the grant, and you don't qualify for future stuff. As a matter of fact, we're going to get an explanation of that from Chris Smith and Amanda Nottingham here in a few minutes. But either way, I mean, it was $5 million. Do you know how much gold they're sitting on? Even though we as taxpayers are paying a ridiculous, stupid amount of interest every year, they're sitting on a pot of gold.
Oh, wait a minute. I don't even, you lost me, but what I do know is the only person with the governmental accounting degree told us about how the conservative management of the budget in Bossier City has led to, them being able to have all this money to be able to do a $500 across the board raise for all city employees down there, that it was because of their good management stuff. So is that the gold you're talking about?
Hold on while I cough up my lungs.
I mean, if it were not for that governmental accounting degree, how the hell would they be able to do that?
Yeah, I know. He insinuated that Colonel Crockett didn't know what he was talking about one time, and I would argue Colonel Crockett's probably better at business management practices than Monty. I mean, the proof's in the pudding here, but I digress. All right, so
the colonel didn't say we're not going to raise water rates and then turn around and raise water rates. I mean,
yeah. And folks, just so you know, if you're really bored, we talked about all this during show 149, titled "Losing It," around the 44-minute mark, sometime around there, and we've touched on this subject, and of course, report on other shows around that time frame. Okay. Let me put a few check marks in our notes here, and we can move forward a little bit just so I don't lose track of what I'm trying to talk about. All right, let's fast forward. So that was April the 4th of 2023. Now I want to switch screens here for just a minute. And I want to show the water rate. Give me just a second here. The water rate increase graphic that we posted on bossierwatch a couple of days ago. So let me click that and that. Now, fast forward to December 2024 and the most recent meeting, January the 2nd of 2025. And that gets us to this point. We're going to go back and review some of that video in a minute. But just so y'all can understand this, this is the chart we put out with Queen Monty's quote there in red from April the 4th, if you want to go back and double check us. And I got to thinking, I was like, they make it sound like it's not really that much. Your flat charge water rate for residents is only going from $8.54 to $10.16. I mean, that's not really that much, is it, Duke? I mean, it's $2.
No.
That's $24 a year. I mean, what is that? But when you run the math, it's 18.9696, really 19% increase. Now let that sink in for a minute, folks. It's a nearly 20% increase, rounding it up. Nearly 20% increase. And not go ahead.
Do you think they're going to recruit that lady from the school system, the
from the
school
teachers union?
Yeah.
Oh, that was something else. She liked to flipped out and had a stroke on television. He can't, I don't know where they got that. He can't say that. Oh, yeah, the math's the math. You didn't learn in the Bossier school system? Anyway, but I digress. Nothing against the school teachers. I know y'all are trying to teach some people math, but apparently some of the students just don't get the math. All right. The per 1,000 gallon increase is $3.03 per 1,000 gallons to $3.61. I mean, that's not really that much, Duke. I mean, what is that, 58 cents? I mean, that's not that much, but again, it's a 19% increase. What if I came to you and said, the school board's about to raise taxes 19%. People would flip out and lose their minds.
You know, it's times like these that remind me that government, it's in the best interest of government to establish public-private partnerships. And I think that they probably ought to call Manshack in here to come in and save the day.
Well, that's true, except Manchack's in there not saving the day. They're kind of making a mess of the day. But then I guess if they call him in there to save the day, Manchack will make more money.
Well, no, if they bring Manchack in here to address all of these issues here, you won't have any numbers to be able to say whether you've had an increase overall or a decrease overall. You won't know. So
they'll just do it in
therefore,
change orders and write the check.
Yeah, and it'll all be fixed.
Yeah.
You won't know.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. That's right. Judas Jeter did that in the Charter Commission stuff that you guys are going to vote on here coming up in March on the same ballot. You're going to enable pretty much every part of Bossier City government to be able to run by a public-private partnership. I mean, you could let Manchack run the fire department or police department.
Yeah. Oh, that'll just be
there
wonderful.
You go.
Just wonderful. Flat charge for water for non-residents, such as Colonel Crockett, is going from $15.80 to $18.80. That's an 18.9. I guess they're pretty consistent here, right about 19% on everything. The per 1,000 gallons for non-residents, $4.50, 55 cents, rising to $5.41. Again, an 18.9% increase. But they're not real consistent on the waste pickup. So the curbside or disabled side yard is going from $24 a month to $36 a month. That's a 50% increase, folks. And the waste pickup for commercial is going up 42.85%. All right, from $28 up to $40. A 40-something% increase. Waste pickup for churches, 50% increase. I mean, what if we said taxes are going up 50%? What if we said taxes were going up 20%? Everybody would lose their minds, but they come out and say, oh, it's just a few dollars here and there a month. It's not really a big deal. Waste containers. The extra container past your first container is going from $4 to $8.50 a month. That's a 112.5% increase. That's what your good old boys have resulted in. And it may not sound like much, but I'm sure to a lot of people it is. And it's the principle of it. It's not that it's a few dollars here and a few dollars here, a few dollars there. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts. Yeah. And they're just nonchalant about it. Even Chris Smith and Brian Hammonds. I hate to say it, but they were nonchalant about it too. Chris did a little bit of pushback, but I got to say, Darby arguably did more pushback.
Well, I mean, look, the state was the oversight entity here. And, you know, if Bossier would invest in someone with a governmental accounting degree to oversee these things, they wouldn't have had to have the state jump in here and say, you will mandatorily increase all your rates because you've been shortchanging. But I don't know. I guess that's why you need change in Bossier, so that you can get somebody with that education level.
Yeah. Jessica Langley Maddox says, was there an increase on sewer? I think there was. I didn't have it in this chart. I'd have to go back and double check. We may pick it up here in the comments or in the city council meetings. So listen close, and I'll try to have more time this week to go back and double check that. So anyway, there you go.
You know, if I just wish this water issue had as much attention as, you know, a bunch of yapping dogs at some business in Bossier or some, you know, part-time hotel that's letting people stay maybe more than one night, you know,
or the YMCA or the tennis courts, you know.
Yeah, or mowing the grass at a roundabout that we got to build a statue. You know, if we'd have paid a little bit more attention to, you know, one of the most important things, which was supplying water to the citizens rather than those things, we might not would be having these issues right now. But apparently, I guess my thinking is just way off. I don't know.
Yeah, what's wrong with you, Duke? You can't think like that. All right.
Just don't know.
All
Stinking
right.
thinking.
So I'm going to jump back to the December the 17th, 2024. Which just last month, city council meeting. We're going to about the 48-minute mark. And this is the first reading on the water rates. Now, they've already had their first reading. They've already had their second reading. This is a done deal. So it's coming down the pipe February of this year. But just so when it happens, you know where it's coming from. Here we go.
Introduce an ordinance to amend sections 114-4 and 114-32 of the Code of Ordinances of Bossier City, Louisiana, to adjust water and deposit rates in the Public Utilities Department. First reading.
So moved.
All right. And then I'm going to jump ahead just a couple of minutes. Chris Smith asked about the rate study, which is where this came from. So this rate study was sponsored is not the correct word, but orchestrated by the state of Louisiana to apparently the city of Bossier because of the grant that they had received through the water grant. Yes.
A rate study, is that like a salary study?
Oh, don't even get me started. We want a copy of this rate study.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Squirrel. You didn't see I'm shaking the cobwebs off. I'm trying to get back in the groove.
All right. And let me point out to Colonel Crockett says everyone should read Sadow's last article on council buffoonery. That is correct, and I did link that with that graphic on the rate increases. Sadow's article is linked at the bottom of that. All right, here we go. So this is Chris Smith asking about the rate study and what the two options were.
The rate study said that we had, I believe, two options. We could increase this rate, or we could pay back the grant dollars.
Correct. We would have to repay the water sector funds that we received, and we would also be ineligible for future grant funds.
And the $5 million in grant funding, that was the Barksdale Boulevard 24-inch main project, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so if we chose not to raise the rates, the revenues would not be sustainable, and we would no longer be eligible for grant funding to help supplement other projects that we would need.
Correct. It's also a component of our the water grade that we receive annually. So
we need
if
to
we
get
do
a good
not
grade.
comply, that will also affect that.
Okay.
I mean, jokingly, I have to say that's the school teacher coming out, and Amanda can't have a bad grade.
Oh boy.
Sorry, Amanda. I realize you just had your job to do. That's all. All right. Yeah. All right. So listen to this, though. And one of the points that Sadow made in his article that he brought up was the timeline of when the city got this report and their reaction time that they had and how it was included in the budget months ago. It's like they're trying to put the best spin on this that they can. So let me get to that mark, which would be the 52. Let's see, 5229 mark. So here we go.
So it was the state who picked the company?
Yes.
Okay. And when did we get the report, and how quick did the state want us to act on it?
We got the report, it was on a Wednesday afternoon, less than 2 weeks ago, and we had to give them our intention to move forward or not the following Wednesday.
So that will be December the 4th of 2024, and then they have 1 week to the following Wednesday to figure out what they were going to do, just for the timeline. Now, the problem is, and she says later on, either in this council meeting or the January one, that some of these numbers were included in the previously submitted budget, which was months ago. So they were already anticipating this. They just waited. They can spend this however they want. They waited to the last minute, and most people are gone for Christmas holidays or not paying attention. And here you go. Wham, bam, your rates are up 20% across the board. And in some cases more. Now, am I missing something here?
No, I don't think you're missing nothing. I mean, but how long has this been going on? That's the $1,000,000 question. I mean, how far back? You can't tell me. I want to know, how long did the king know? You know, did he know when he was making his was he articulating all of his bloviation from a position of ignorance, or was he articulating it, lying, or was he, you know, just being a blowhard? I don't know. I want to know how far back, how long have they known this problem existed? That is, but the thing is, you could send a public information request for any communications. You're not going to get the answer.
No,
they're not going to tell you.
Especially not if they text it to each other. You certainly won't get it because they can't easily get them. All right, so I'm going to jump forward here. This is where Chris Smith asked about the 2% annual increase.
My bills are going to go up.
I understand.
But the one issue as I read through this ordinance that I have, and that would be at the end of the ordinance, the 2% annual increase thereafter. So if I heard you correctly, there was a gap that needs to be filled for 2025, and then another gap for 2026.
Yes, but they did not give guidance on what it would be for 2026. So rather than setting that fixed amount like we did here, we did an increase, just a % increase. We felt like that would better suit the needs of the department, given that we don't know what the future holds with weather, whether, if we have a very dry summer or if we get a lot of rain, if it stays cool, people will choose to conserve. So we felt like that was the best option for the utility.
Listen up. Your favorite part, Duke.
And this 2% annual, that's for both inside and outside.
Correct. And
customers.
For inside, it would equate to about 25 cents.
Okay. And what the initial increase for 2025, what estimate have we come up with an average customer would see?
So it's about, I think the increase between the flat rate and the usage is $1.62 per house.
Again, normally, notice it would be about $1.62. Well, it's just $1.62. All right. They're going to mention the port deal here in just a second. That's what I'm trying to drive at.
Household, and then there is, let me get my notes here. The average customer is going to see about a $6 increase in their monthly bill for their flat rate, with the increase on the flat rate and usage.
I would just like to point out that would be Cliff Smith sitting back there at the city council meeting. Who is running for city councilman?
A lot of regular faces that are there every single meeting.
Yes. All right, here we go.
Okay. Like I said, the only concern I have is this 2% annual after we do the 2025 and the 2026 increases. And
well, there is that is the increase set for 2026.
2%.
Correct.
But I'm talking about after 2026, continuing that 2% every year thereafter. Mm-hmm. That's the only issue that I'm going to push on, because when we did
here we go.
For instance, the Port Waterline project, one of the big selling factors of that was the revenue stability that would give us in the future.
Wait, you heard him. He said revenue stability. Okay.
That's right.
This is what he's talking about. That's literally Eric England from the Port Commission sitting there.
To be stewards of the taxpayers' money, to ensure or mitigate the fact that we will not have water rate increases going forward.
There you go.
Well, if I'm Chris Smith, that would make me want to vote for it. I mean, the king is putting his name on the line out there. He's the fact that, I mean,
Yeah,
doesn't that make you believe?
I guess so. All right.
I mean, I think it made I don't think anybody voted against it.
No, I don't think they did either. The 2% supposed to sunset after 2006. All right. Now, should they have known about this? So this will kind of be addressed with this next comment that I'm going to jump to at the 59-minute mark. Hold on just a second. And let's see. Actually, I wanna play this comment from Darby. Darby asked about the sewer and trash rates. Hold on.
Also, the next item is number 2. So per household, you project $6, but in that next ordinance, we're looking at an adjustment for sanitation rates.
Correct.
So that is also part of the billing.
It is, yes, sir.
So what is the total? Because you're going to have an increase there too. So per household, what?
So if you look at the average consumption per household for their water with the flat rate increase and this, then it would be about $18.
Okay. Yeah, and that's my heartburn right there.
Now, notice he didn't say his heartburn was because David had told them all and told the public there were going to be no rate increases. Notice he didn't say that.
No, he didn't say that. Why did he not call him out? Why do you think that is?
I don't know. It's kind of odd. But we're getting to the point here in about 20 seconds where Amanda's going to explain the rates have been the same since 2007. So here we go.
Understand.
For people who are already having a hard time meeting the rates as they are today in Bossier, if it's one thing people complain about in Bossier City, in my district, it has been the water rates. I've known that for a long time, and this is going to be a tall glass of water to drink.
Just a couple of things. I would say
All right,
water
here we go.
rates
Listen up.
have
Listen
remained
closely.
constant and since 2007. There has not been an increase, and also the budget was presented with the assumption for this $12 increase.
Sure.
Did y'all hear that?
Wait a minute.
Did you hear that?
Back up a few seconds and play that again for those sitting in the back row. Play that again.
Here we go again.
Things I would say water rates have remained constant and since 2007. There has not been an increase, and also the budget was presented with the assumption for this $12 increase.
Sure.
And so it is, I understand, again, this is not an easy decision for anybody, and
Interesting. Those are her words, not mine.
So I didn't look at the budget. I did not know. And this $12 increase, she said that it was in the budget. I didn't look at it. Did you look at it?
No,
I
I
didn't
did.
look at it.
Look, to be perfectly honest, I absolutely did not. I need to start. That's be a good use for AI to analyze a city budget.
Yeah. So is she talking about water or is she talking about sanitation?
That's a good question because she didn't really clarify. Let me play the comments for just another minute or so.
it does make things difficult, but it is unfortunately the cost of doing business.
What's the increase on the sanitation?
$12.
$12.
Right.
There she said the 12. I mean, she said $12 a while ago. She just said $12 then, and she said that's. I mean,
Yeah.
Look, it didn't go up 24. So,
well, and maybe they didn't know about the state mandate for increasing the rates until December. Maybe they already knew about the sanitation. Well, maybe that's what the scenario is.
Or did they know? I mean, it goes back to that question: who knew when, and how long did they know?
Right. And again, it's just suspicious because the meeting they had. So let me paint this picture. This was December the 17th, 2024. So right before Christmas holidays. A lot of people aren't going to be paying attention to politics. Then they called the next meeting for January the 2nd. It was not at 3 p.m. I think it was at 1 or 2. It was an off time. I was actually going to watch it live, and I clicked over to YouTube, and it was already ended. There was hardly anybody there, and boom, now you have new water rates. It's just not looking so good.
Well, look, I do want to clarify this and throw this out here. Hey, good old boys, there's supposedly an ice storm coming the end of the week. So if y'all want to do some shady crap, I mean, you might ought to call some Snap 2 meeting. I mean,
yeah, and do it in the middle of an ice storm while you're paying double overtime to some company that you've got contracted to do a bunch of crap around the city.
yeah, there you go. I mean,
okay, so we'll go on and get through this. Not too much more. There is a comment here that's pretty funny. She mentions the perceived financial instability. Listen to this closely.
Just point of clarification, outside rates are 1.5 times that of the city. I would also say that the residents that do not live within the city limits but do receive city water and sewer, they don't pay the sanitation fee. They also don't have the ambulance fee, the beautification fee, those things. So this was done because we are the recipient.
Wait a minute. She said they don't have the beautification fee. You mean they don't have the Walter O. Bigby monument fee? Is that what she meant to say?
Yes,
She said
the
beautification fee.
The weed eat around the monument fee and all the other little fees that they can do. Is there a Bossier beautification fee or something? I don't know.
God, I don't know. I'm thinking about, is that how I get them free oak trees from Keep Bossier Beautiful when they do the little free tree giveaway?
I guess I got to start paying closer attention.
Oh, I shouldn't say this, but hey, plain dealing, thanks, you Bossier City.
Right. All right. I'm going to jump ahead to the January the 2nd meeting. I'm going to come back, and Colonel Crockett has some comments at the end of this that I'm going to play once we get ready for the end of the show that are great. All right. So I'm jumping ahead now. We're at the January the 2nd meeting. Notice there's only a few people. That looks like Miss Deborah sitting out there. Is that Cliff sitting back there? So there were a few people in there. Interesting thing, Darby had an add-on request about celebrating Jimmy Carter, so I want to play that, and then we'll get back to the water. Hold on.
The request I have would be new business number 10, adopt a resolution recognizing the life achievements and public service of former President James Earl Jimmy Carter Jr. First and final reading, and Mr. Darby would like to send this resolution to the Speaker of the House prior to the presidential funeral.
I'm surprised he didn't want to send it to Biden, requesting more immigrants while they're at it, on behalf of Jimmy Carter's good name and spirit.
Oh, God. They're going to send something about Jimmy Carter to the Speaker of the House. Love it.
Yeah. All right. So here's Phyllis reading the final reading of the water ordinance.
Ordinance to amend section 114-4 and 114-32 of the Code of Ordinances of Bossier City, Louisiana, to adjust water and deposit rates in the Public Utilities Department. Final reading.
So moved. Sorry.
And of course, they did the sewer deal and all that. So Darby's got a real concern about this 2% deal. Imagine that. Now that I guess he actually must have read this ordinance before he's voting to pass it, unlike the monument ordinance. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. No
and
doubt.
I think somebody mentioned that in the comments earlier, too. All right, here we go.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
I wanted to ask a few things about this ordinance because I do have concerns regarding the 2%, especially because it's going to impact the elderly and those who are on a fixed income.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'll just be remiss if I didn't point out it's going to affect everybody that uses sewer and water and sanitation from the city of Bossier. Like everybody. Let's not play the class warfare in the opposite direction, that it's just going to affect the elderly and old folks. People on a fixed income will get harder, but this is literally affecting everybody. All right, here we go.
how was the 2% rate determined? Who determined that
So that was a decision that we made collectively as on the administrative side. This rate study gave us parameters. They gave a recommendation for what the increase should be for year 2025. They also recommended a rate increase for 2026, but they did not say what that was. And so we looked and instead of increasing to a different flat rate and usage rate, we felt like a 2% increase would adequately cover the expenses. And it would equate to about 25 to 30 cents per household. So we felt like it would be something that would be minimal and a minimal impact on customers.
So it was not debatable 1.5 or 1%, only 2% was?
That was what, I mean, we did look at that. Obviously, it's at the discretion of the council if that is something you wanted to.
In other words, I just picked a number out of the rear end and said, let's go with 2%. All right.
Yeah, but it was but it was originally 2% in perpetuity, but
correct.
I'm not reading here that Darby knew that. I mean, isn't it accurate that the previous meeting that Chris Smith, I think maybe amended that to where it would only be 2% one time and
2%,
not
if I
in
remember correctly.
perpetuity?
Well, I think it was for 2025 and 2026, and then that you're correct. Smith offered the amendment, and then there was some discussion. Queen David offered the deal. Jacobs chimed in and said, "Well, maybe we should just do it where it specifically states 25 and 26, and blah 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 blah."
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the majority of the people watching our show, they don't live in Darby's district. But if you know somebody in Darby's district, you ought to communicate that this jackwagon is talking at this council meeting about he doesn't even know what he's talking about here. This was amended the previous meeting. He hasn't even read the ordinance. He doesn't have a clue.
All right, so just to prove that point, I'm going to switch back real quick. This is the December the 17th meeting, and I'm searching through here. Darby did have the comments about the sewer and sanitation rates and all that, but when Chris Smith was asking about the 2% annual increase, there was no discussion from Darby at that point. December the 17th. Now, the final reading, he's all concerned about it.
I mean, look, I don't know. I mean, is this guy on medication or what? I mean, but if this is the type of governance that you want, I mean, don't start getting all disgusted with government when it starts falling apart like it's falling apart. I mean, if he can't keep up, he doesn't need to be there.
Well,
I mean, I don't care if his name's Darby or not.
I'll tell you who can keep up. It's this guy over here. He is laid back and on autopilot. He's getting his cake and eating it too, or getting his water bottle and eating it too.
Yeah. Well,
all right, we're almost done. Let me get through this part.
But we felt like that would be, like I said, an adequate amount where hopefully we would maybe not have to raise rates the following year, but it would provide stability to the fund.
Okay. Does administration?
Now, you heard her say provide stability to the fund. I'm going to play one more quick section and we'll start wrapping this up.
I do feel like it's within the state's purview and responsibility to make sure that the water systems they're loaning money to or granting funds to are financially stable. So I feel like they have a responsibility, and that's part of what this.
How financially stable do you think the state thought Bossier City was that they required the city to jack the rates up 20% across the board, and in some cases 100%, over 100%?
I gotta say, obviously the state is uninformed. They are uninformed because they don't know we have somebody with a governmental accounting degree on the city council. Because if they knew that, they would stay the hell out of Bossier City business.
I can't disagree with that. So there you have it, folks. We're going to start wrapping up the show now, but there you have it. This is a done deal. Your rates are going up. Let's see, what day was it? February? It's in February. Everybody's rates are going up in February. There's nothing you can do about it. Done deal. But we wanted to make sure, February 1st, 2025 is when this is effective. We wanted to make sure that you were well informed and well versed the great Christmas presents that your city council came up with over the Christmas holidays for everybody. Merry Christmas, folks.
Look, Jeffrey needs your vote for mayor. I mean, Darby needs your vote, down there. I mean, so he can continue to, not know what's going on. Look, I mean, the good old boys need you. They are counting on you. They're counting on you to not share anything. But hey, Rex, I digress. I gotta tell you something. I've been holding out on you.
Uh-oh.
And so we have been commissioned, and I can't say who, but we've been commissioned to a pretty important project.
Oh goodness.
And it includes everybody watching the show, especially everybody watching the show. You and I are just facilitating, what we're being commissioned, but what they really want to know is by everybody watching the show in Bossier City, they want to know what is preferred by everybody in Bossier City.
Well, that could be dangerous. This is like being commissioned to do a painting.
It's kind of like that, but you got to, it's kind of like you got to do two paintings and you got to pick which one you like the most.
Okay.
And we got to get feedback from everybody, which they prefer.
And what are the choices, or do we know them yet?
So this is kind of secret, dark, stealthy stuff. And I've been sitting on this, it came to me a little bit after Christmas. The information was sent to me and they wanted us to use our platform to survey everyone to see what they preferred. So, at the end of this council's term, apparently, can you still hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Apparently, the king is going to seek to change the name of the Red River to the Walter O. Bigby Waterway or the Queen David River. One of the two.
I'm voting for Queen David.
And they're going to have a vote on it, and they need to know whether you want it to be the Walter O. Bigby Waterway or the Queen David River. One of the two.
If they add in, what's that place up there called Cash Point? They should rename that also to Point of Order. We're gonna make an official poll for this on Bossier Watch.
Yeah, Walter O. Bigby Waterway or the Queen David River. One of the two. Welcome to Shreveport.
And if Queen David River wins, we're going to rename Cash Point to Point of Order.
All right, that's all I got. I enjoyed my first night back. And anyway.
Yeah, we got it. One quick thing, the NAACP meeting, they had a meeting. Apparently, Lee Jeter's, I think, not the president anymore. They elected somebody else. If anybody has any information about that, send us a message or put it in the comments. I would encourage everybody, I'll do it as a standalone video, to go watch the Colonel's ending comments from the December the 17th meeting. I'm going to make that a standalone video because they were great. And we have enjoyed everybody watching. Duke, glad to see you back. Glad to hear that Kara is getting back close to 100% or maybe even better than 100%.
She is clicking on all cylinders. She is ready to do your home loan if you need a home loan. I mean, it sucks right now. I wouldn't want to have to finance a house right now, but by gosh, somebody needs a home loan, and we would love to have your business.
We will encourage everybody to go over there and get a home loan now. All right. Anything else you got to say?
That's all I got. Have a good night.
All right. Good night, folks.